Have you ever considered that your life isn't reacting to what's happening around you? It's reacting to what you've quietly decided is true. The instant you start assuming that things always turn out in your favor, existence itself begins to rearrange to match that inner certainty, whether or not you ever figure out how. Stick with me here, because what I'm about to share can lift years of doubt and fear off your shoulders, and show you exactly why the world eventually has to agree with the story you keep telling yourself. So here's a thought experiment. What if, starting right now, you made up your mind that no matter what shows up in front of you, no matter the bad news, the setback, the delay, you were going to stay loyal to one single assumption. Everything always works out for me. Most people can't picture living that way, because they've been taught to let appearances run their emotions. They wait for proof before they'll believe anything. They wait for the win before they'll feel calm. They wait for their circumstances to shift before they let themselves feel confident or grateful. But flip that around for a second. What if it's backwards? What if your circumstances aren't creating your state of mind? What if your state of mind is creating your circumstances? What if the life you keep experiencing day in and day out is simply a mirror of the assumptions you keep feeding yourself? If that's true, then deciding that everything always works out for you isn't just positive thinking. It's not naive optimism, and it's not pretending problems don't exist. It's a deliberate move into a state of mind that favorable outcomes naturally grow out of. Look closely at your own life, and you'll notice a pattern. Every repeating situation has an assumption behind it. Someone who assumes people can't be trusted keeps running into people who prove them right. Someone who assumes success is a grind keeps hitting obstacles that back that up. Someone who assumes opportunity is scarce keeps noticing closed doors and dead ends. And yet someone else, walking through that exact same world, believes life has their back, that solutions show up, that opportunity is everywhere, and somehow their whole experience looks completely different. That gap isn't luck, it isn't fate, it isn't external. It's the state each person is standing in while they look at life. The assumption acts like a lens, and the lens decides what gets noticed, what gets accepted, and eventually, what gets lived. Most people spend their whole lives fighting with shadows. They try to force change on the outside world without realizing the outside world is only reflecting back something they've already accepted on the inside. That's why they end up frustrated. They're rearranging the reflection while leaving the source untouched. Picture standing in front of a mirror, unhappy with what you see. You can argue with that reflection all day. It won't change. It only changes once the source changes. Life works the same way. When you assume everything always works out for you, you're not tinkering with the reflection. You're changing the source. You're shifting the inner position you use to interpret events, respond to situations, and assign meaning to what happens to you. At first, nothing on the outside looks different. Challenges still show up. Curveballs still happen, but your relationship to those events starts to shift. Where you used to see roadblocks, you start seeing bridges. Where you used to see endings, you start seeing turning points. Where you used to see problems, you start expecting solutions. That shift is quieter than people expect, but it's far more powerful than it looks. Most suffering doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the meaning we slap onto it. Two people can go through the exact same thing and walk away with completely different realities because each one assigned it a different meaning. One calls it a disaster, the other calls it a redirection. One calls it rejection, the other calls it preparation. One calls it failure, the other calls it a step on the way to success. Same event, totally different experience. Why? Because your state of consciousness decides how you interpret it. Your interpretation decides how you feel, and how you feel reinforces the assumption, until that assumption eventually hardens into your lived experience. That's exactly why deciding everything always works out for you is so transformative. It breaks the fear loop. It interrupts the habit of assuming the worst. Most people, without noticing, spend their days rehearsing disaster, imagining what could go wrong, predicting letdowns, bracing for failure, and then they wonder why they're anxious all the time. But your consciousness doesn't actually care whether you're rehearsing what you fear or what you want. It just responds to whatever you keep occupying. Countless people spend hours every day marinating in worry, frustration, and doubt without even realizing they're practicing it, getting really good at expecting things to go wrong, and then acting shocked when life matches that expectation. Now picture the opposite. Every morning, you wake up and simply decide, no matter what it looks like, things are unfolding in my favor. Every delay is hiding a purpose. Every challenge is hiding an opportunity. Every setback is pushing me towards something bigger. Watch what happens next. Your mind settles down. Your reactions soften. Your confidence builds. You stop burning energy fighting your circumstances or resisting the current, and you start moving through your day with trust instead of tension. Trust is a creative force. Fear shrinks your awareness. Trust expands it. Fear blinds you to what's possible. Trust reveals it. Fear pushes you into rash decisions. Trust guides you toward wise ones. Fear makes you quit on your vision. Trust keeps you moving until it becomes real. So this assumption doesn't just change how you feel. It changes how you act. And because your actions change, your results change right along with them. A lot of people think safety comes from controlling every last detail of life. It doesn't. Real power comes from controlling the state you meet those details with. Someone who assumes things work out for them has a real edge. They don't get thrown into chaos by every temporary appearance. When trouble shows up, they stay grounded. When things get uncertain, they stay composed. While everyone else panics, they stay steady. And because they're steady, calm perception tends to beat frantic effort. A relaxed mind notices opportunities a fearful one misses entirely. A confident mind sees paths that doubt hides. A peaceful mind picks up on ideas a troubled mind never receives. That's why the state you're standing in matters so much. You're not just reacting to your life. You're actively shaping it through what you assume. Every assumption you carry has creative weight. Every belief you accept colors your perception. Every dominant mood you sit in leaves a mark on your experience. Say someone tells you your goal is impossible. If you buy it, your behavior shifts instantly. Your motivation drops. Your imagination shrinks. Your actions get hesitant. The assumption produces its matching effect. But if instead you stay loyal to the belief that things work out for you, their opinion loses its grip on you. You keep moving forward. You stay open. You stay receptive. And because you're receptive, new opportunities start showing up. The assumption keeps you moving. The movement builds momentum. And momentum produces results. Most people have no idea how much of their life has simply been shaped by assumptions they never chose consciously. They picked up beliefs from their family. They absorbed expectations from society. They accepted limitations from old experiences, and then mistook all of it for objective fact. But assumptions aren't permanent truths. They're just states, and states can be swapped out. The second you notice an assumption, you gain the power to replace it. Spent years assuming life is hard? You can choose differently. Spent years assuming things never work out? You can choose differently. Spent years bracing for disappointment? You can choose differently too. The power was never in rewriting the past. It's in changing the state you view the present through. Every real transformation starts with a shift in identity. The person who keeps assuming things work out for them eventually just becomes someone who naturally expects good outcomes. It stops being forced. It becomes effortless, natural, simply who they are, and life keeps mirroring it back to them. People often wonder why certain individuals seem to have all the luck. Why does opportunity seem to find them? Why do solutions arrive right when they're needed? Why do circumstances line up in unexpected ways? Part of the answer is the assumption they're consistently standing in. They've trained themselves to expect support instead of resistance. They've grown used to good outcomes. They walk through life expecting success rather than failure. And because they expect it, they notice the paths that lead there. The world doesn't respond differently to them, because they have some special power the rest of us don't. It's because their state of consciousness organizes what they notice, how they act, and what they end up experiencing. So tonight, before you fall asleep, ask yourself one simple question. What assumption have I been carrying around that isn't serving me anymore? Then swap it out for one powerful truth. Everything always works out for me. Not sometimes. Not when conditions line up nicely. Always, even when I can't see the reason. Even when I don't understand how. Even when everything in front of me says otherwise. Everything always works out for me. Stay with that assumption long enough, and something remarkable starts to happen. Good outcomes stop feeling rare, and start feeling like the normal order of your life. The mind always drifts toward whatever it's decided is normal. If struggle has been normalized, struggle keeps showing up. If disappointment has been normalized, disappointment keeps repeating. But when success, harmony, and resolution become the new normal inside your consciousness, life starts arranging itself around that expectation. A lot of people think they need every external condition to change first, before they can feel secure. But the opposite. Security has to be built on the inside before it ever shows up on the outside. The person who waits for proof stays dependent on their circumstances. The person who simply assumes the wish is already fulfilled becomes independent of them. One is stuck reacting. The other is actively creating. This is exactly why you have to hold on to the assumption that things always work out, especially when the evidence in front of you says the opposite. It's easy to believe something once the proof has already shown up. That takes no faith at all. The real test comes when your senses are reporting one thing while your inner conviction is fixed on something else entirely. That's the moment you get a choice. Bow to appearances and let them dictate your mood, or stay loyal to the state you've consciously chosen. Most people fold right here. They start strong, and the moment an obstacle shows up, they drop the state they were building and slide back into old worry, old fear, the same assumptions that created their old results. And then they wonder why nothing's changing. A seed doesn't turn into a tree the second it's planted. There's a stretch where nothing visible seems to be happening, even though plenty is going on underground. Assumptions work the same way. There's an unseen stretch of development before anything shows up on the surface. The mistake most people make is digging the seed up every day to check if it's growing. They plant a new assumption in the morning and second guess it by afternoon. They feel confident today and afraid tomorrow. They declare certainty one minute and flirt with doubt the next. That inconsistency undoes the very impression they're trying to build. Your job isn't to force results or manipulate your circumstances. Your only job is to stay faithful to the state. Keep assuming everything works out for you and keep living from there. A delay shows up, stay faithful. An unexpected bill lands, stay faithful. Someone says no, stay faithful. The path gets murky, stay faithful. Every bit of persistence strengthens the new state, until eventually it feels so natural that doubt stops sounding convincing. That's when you start noticing changes in places you least expected. Conversations go differently. Ideas show up out of nowhere. The right people cross your path at exactly the right moment. Solutions come from directions you never even considered. Coincidences pile up. Doors open. What once looked impossible starts inching closer. At first, your logical mind might try to write all of this off as coincidence, but as the pattern keeps repeating, you start to notice something deeper. Reality isn't nearly as fixed as you once assumed. It's responsive. It's fluid. It reflects consciousness far more than most people ever realize. The outer world is constantly echoing whatever's happening inside a person. Someone who keeps feeling abandoned tends to see life mirror that back to them. Someone who keeps feeling unsupported keeps running into circumstances that reinforce it. Someone who keeps feeling unworthy watches opportunities slip through their fingers. Not because life is punishing them, but because consciousness is simply expressing itself through experience. Change the state, and eventually the reflection has to change with it. Once you understand that, you stop needing to fight reality. Instead of wrestling with appearances, you start transforming the source those appearances come from. You stop asking, how do I force this to happen? And start asking, who do I need to be for this to happen naturally? That single question changes everything, because every outcome you want already has a matching state of consciousness attached to it. Someone who naturally experiences abundance is standing in a different state than someone who expects lack. Someone who enjoys loving relationships is standing in a different state than someone who expects rejection. Someone who keeps succeeding is standing in a different state than someone who assumes there's to be. The results are different because the states are different. And when you assume that everything always works out for you, you step into one of the most powerful states available to a human being. A state of trust, of expectancy, of inner security. One that refuses to hand final authority over to whatever's temporarily in front of you. Think about how much energy people waste fighting life, arguing with their circumstances, replaying bad moments over and over, rehearsing future disasters, getting emotionally glued to outcomes they don't even want, then wondering why peace feels so far away. Assuming everything works out for you breaks that entire cycle. Instead of rehearsing problems, you start rehearsing resolution. Instead of dwelling on obstacles, you dwell on fulfillment. Instead of identifying with struggle, you identify with victory. That doesn't mean pretending difficulties don't exist. It means refusing to hand them the final word. An obstacle only matters if you decide it's permanent. A delay is only discouraging if you assume it's pointless. A challenge only feels overwhelming if you forget the creative power sitting inside you. The moment you remember that your state of consciousness comes before your experience, everything shifts. You stop feeling trapped because you understand that circumstances aren't fixed facts. They're expressions of a state, and states can always be changed. People routinely underestimate imagination. They treat it like fantasy instead of recognizing it as the actual workshop where reality gets built. Every achievement existed in someone's imagination before it existed in the real world. Every invention, every building, every transformation, imagined first. The world is constantly revealing what was already accepted on the inside. So if you want a life where things keep working out, start imagining from that place. Imagine getting the good news. Imagine the unexpected opportunity. Imagine the successful outcome. Imagine relief where there used to be worry, confidence where there used to be fear, and imagine it not as some far-off possibility, but as a present reality. Feel what it's actually like to be someone whose life keeps unfolding in their favor. How would they walk? How would they talk? How would they respond to a setback? How would they picture the future? They wouldn't live anxious. They wouldn't expect disaster around every corner. They wouldn't spend their days bracing for disappointment. They'd carry a quiet certainty, a calm confidence, a deep inner knowing that no matter what it looks like, life is moving toward resolution. That attitude is what actually transforms experience. Not force, not struggle, not endless effort, just staying identified with a new way of being. Once you get that, you stop chasing outcomes and start embodying them. You stop begging reality for permission to succeed. You stop waiting for outside validation before you'll believe in your own future. You accept it inwardly first, and once it's accepted inside, it starts its journey toward becoming visible. The assumption turns into a conviction. The conviction turns into a state. The state turns into an experience, and that experience feeds the conviction even further, which is exactly why the most important moment is always right now, not tomorrow. Not next year, not once things improve. Now, because every single moment is a fresh chance to choose a new assumption, to step into a different state, to decide what story you're going to tell about your own life. Will you keep repeating the story of struggle? Keep identifying with limitation? Keep expecting disappointment? Or will you pick up a new story, one where life supports you, where solutions show up, where opportunity multiplies, where everything always works out for you? The choice looks small, but the consequences are enormous, because every assumption you accept eventually seeks its own expression. Every state seeks to become a real experience. Every inner conviction moves toward outer confirmation. And because reality keeps mirroring back whatever your consciousness has settled into as true, the assumption you choose today has the power to shape things far beyond anything you can currently see. So as you sit with all this, stop asking whether life is going to cooperate with what you want. Stop looking to your circumstances for permission to believe. Stop letting temporary appearances decide what's possible for you. The outer world was never the author of your story. It's only ever been the messenger, delivering back whatever you've already accepted inside. From this point forward, make it your deepest conviction that everything always works out for you. When the road looks uncertain, assume it's leading somewhere better. When a door closes, assume a bigger one is already opening. When challenges show up, assume they're quietly arranging themselves in your favor. Don't hand your inner certainty over to whatever's passing through at the moment. Remember, reality can't keep contradicting the state you faithfully hold on to. Stay in fear, and it reflects fear back. Stay in doubt, and it reflects doubt back. But hold on, unwavering, to the assumption that life is working in your favor, that every event is serving your highest good, that every outcome is ultimately leading you towards something better, and reality has no choice but to echo that belief straight back to you. Carry this with you. You're not here just to react to life. You're here to decide the state you experience it from. Choose certainty. Choose trust. Choose the feeling of the wish already fulfilled, and hold on to it without wavering. Because the day you truly assume that everything always works out for you is the day reality starts rearranging itself to prove you were right all along. Neville's voice.